Listen to me. 2026 is not waiting on you. Time is not slowing down because you're confused, tired, or scared. Every second you hesitate, someone else is becoming who you said you wanted to be. If you keep living like this year is just another year, you will wake up one day realizing you traded your potential for comfort. And comfort is the most expensive drug on the planet. So hear this, feel this, let this hit you where excuses live. Listen to me closely. Nobody is coming. Not because people don't care, but because life doesn't work that way. From the moment you were born, responsibility was quietly placed in your hands, and whether you accept it or not determines everything that follows. Waiting has become your comfort zone. You've been waiting for clarity, waiting for confidence, waiting for someone to believe in you enough so you can finally believe in yourself. But the truth is brutal and liberating at the same time. The help you're waiting for is not on the way. The rescue story you've been hoping for is not real. And the longer you wait, the more power you give away. Growth begins the moment you stop asking who will save me and start saying I will. That shift right there is the dividing line between people who talk about change and people who become change. You have to understand this deeply. Every excuse you repeat is a contract you sign with mediocrity. Life does not reward intention. It rewards ownership. You don't rise because you want better. You rise because you decide you're done living beneath your potential. The world does not owe you clarity before action. Confidence doesn't come first. Action does. Strength is built under pressure, not before it. And every time you delay, hoping circumstances will improve, you are training yourself to remain powerless. The strongest people aren't the ones with the least problems. They're the ones who stopped outsourcing responsibility for their live. When you finally accept that nobody is coming, something powerful happens. Fear loses its grip. Excuses lose their authority, and you step into the driver's seat of your own destiny. Let's be honest about something most people avoid. You've been conditioned to believe that struggle means something is wrong, that if it's hard, you must be on the wrong path. That discomfort is a sign to stop. That belief is poison. Growth feels lonely. Ownership feels heavy. Responsibility feels overwhelming at first. But that weight is the exact thing that builds your strength. When you stop waiting for approval, you stop shrinking yourself. When you stop waiting for validation, you stop living at the mercy of other people's opinions. Nobody coming means no more excuses. It means no more blaming your power, your parents, your environment, or your luck. It means recognizing that your future will be shaped by the decisions you make when no one is watching and no one is cheering. Here's the part that changes everything. Once you accept that nobody is coming, you gain something most people never experience. Freedom. Freedom from disappointment. Freedom from false hope. Freedom from dependency. You saint or be expecting people to show up in ways they never promised to. You stop waiting for permission to live boldly. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't understand your vision. And instead of asking for doors to open, you start building your own. You don't need the perfect plan. You don't need guarantees. You need courage. The courage to move without reassurance, to act without applause, and to trust yourself enough to figure it out along the way. That level of independence is uncomfortable, but it's powerful beyond measure. Understand this: the moment you stop waiting, time starts working for you instead of against you. Every day you take ownership compounds, small decisions stack, discipline accumulates, confidence grows quietly. But when you wait, time becomes your enemy. Regret G. grows, doubt multiplies, opportunities expire. Nobody is coming means you stop living reactively. You stop waking up hoping something will change and start waking up knowing you will change something. That mindset transforms how you walk, how you speak, how you choose. You become intentional, focused, unshakable. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Most people never step into this level of responsibility because it scares them. If nobody is coming, then failure feels personal. Mistakes feel heavier. There's nowhere to hide. But that's exactly why this truth creates leaders, builders, and survivors. When you stop expecting rescue, you stop fearing failure. You understand that falling is part of the process, not a verdict on your worth. You learn faster, you move smart, you recover stronger, and eventually you realize something extraordinary. The power you were waiting for was inside you the entire time. It just needed you to stop waiting and start claiming it. So hear this and carry it with you into 2026. Nobody is coming, and that is your greatest advantage. Because when you stop waiting for rescue, you become the force. You become the answer. You become the one who changes the direction of your life. And once you step into that truth, there is no going back. At some point, you have to stop drifting. You have to stop letting life push you in whatever direction is easiest, loudest, or most convenient. Because whether you realize it or not, every single day you are becoming someone. The question is not if you are changing, the question is who you are changing into. If you don't choose that person intentionally, life will choose for you, and life is ruthless in its selections. It will shape you based on survival, not purpose, comfort, not greatness, reaction, not intention. That's why so many people wake up years later confused, frustrated, and disconnected from who they thought they'd be. They didn't fail. They never decided. Decisio. N is not a feeling. It is not motivation. It is not confidence. Decision is a line you draw in the sand and say, from this moment forward, I move differently. Most people wait until they feel ready, but readiness is a myth. You don't wake up one day suddenly equipped to become disciplined, focused, or powerful. You decide first, and then you build the strength to match that decision through act. Ion. The moment you decide who you are, your behavior starts to realign. You stop negotiating with distractions. You stop tolerating environments that weaken you. You stop saying yes to things that pull you away from the future you're trying to create. Decision simplifies life because it removes debate. Here's the hard truth. Uncertainty feels safe, but it's slowly killing your potential. When you live undecided, you allow fear to masquerade as logic. You tell yourself you're keeping options open, but in reality, you're keeping yourself stuck. Indecision drains energy because your mind is constantly spinning, questioning, second-guessing. Powerful people conserve energy by committing. They don't waste mental space wondering who they are or what they stand for. They know, and because they know, they move with clarity. The moment you decide, your standards rise. And once standards rise, excuses lose their power. Deciding who you are means defining what you tolerate from yourself and from others. It means setting non-negotiables when no one else is enforcing them. It means you don't wait for external pressure to do what you already know must be done. When you decide you are disciplined, you don't ask if you feel like showing up. You show up because that's who you are now. When you decide you are focused, you stop entertaining distractions that used to feel harmless. Identity drives behavior. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your standards. and standards are born from decision. Life will test every decision you make. The moment you decide to live at a higher level, resistance shows up, discomfort shows up, doubt shows up. That doesn't mean your decision was wrong. It means it was real. Weak decisions collapse under pressure. Strong decisions deepen. This is where most people fold. They mistake difficulty for failure and retreat back into the familiar. But the ones who win understand this. Clarity is forged in action, not before it. You don't wait for certainty. You move and let certainty catch up. Every time you act in alignment with your decision, you reinforce it. Over time, that identity becomes unshakable. Understand this clearly. If you don't consciously decide who you are in 2026, you will spend the year reacting to people, to problems, to circumstances. You live in defense instead of offense. You let urgency replace purpose and busyness replace progress. But when you decide, everything changes. Your calendar changes. Your conversations change. Your habits change. You stop explaining yourself and start executing. You don't need everyone to understand your path. You need to walk it. And once you do, the noise fades, the doubt weakens, and momentum takes over. So make the decision now, not later. Decide who you are before life decides for you. Decide your standards. Decide your direction. Decide your discipline. Because once you decide, your life will have no choice but to follow. And 2026 will no longer control you. You will control who you become in it. You need to stop bargaining with the weakest version of yourself. That inner voice that keeps asking for delays, shortcuts, and comfort is not your friend, it's your resistance. Every time you tell yourself just this once, you are aching your mind that discipline is optional. And once discipline becomes optional, progress disappears. Weakness doesn't attack you loudly, it negotiates. It sounds reasonable. It tells you you've had a long day, that you deserve a break, that tomorrow will be better. But tomorrow is built by what you do today. And the life you're living right now is proof of the deals you've been making with voice for years. The dangerous part is that weakness doesn't feel like weakness in the moment. It feels like relief. It feels like rest. It feels like self-care. But there is a massive difference between recovery and avoidance. Recovery prepares you to go back into the fight stronger. Avoidance trains you to run. And the more you run, the harder it becomes to stand still and face yourself. Ever. Time you choose comfort over commitment, you reinforce the identity you're trying to escape. You don't need more motivation. You need to stop giving your weakness a seat at the table when decisions are being made. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You will never feel like doing the hard things consistently. Discipline is not built on desire. It's built on decision. The people you admire don't wake up every day energized and excited. They wake up committed. They understand that feelings change, moods shift, energy fluctuates, but standards remain. When you decide that certain actions happen no matter how you feel, you remove the daily debate that drains your willpower. You don't ask yourself if you're going to show up. You already decided. That's how momentum is created. Negotiating with weakness keeps you trapped in cycles. You start strong, fall off, feel guilty, promise to restart and repeat. That cycle destroys self-trust. And without self-trust, confidence collapses. You begin to doubt your own word. You stop believing yourself when you say you'll change. Breaking that cycle requires one powerful move. Doing what you said you would do, even when every part of you resists it. That single act rebuilds trust with yourself. And self-trust is the foundation of every transformation. When you trust yourself, you move faster. You hesitate less. You recover quicker when you stumble. You have to understand that your future self is watching every choice you make, every skipped workout, every unfinished task, every excuse. They all send a message. Either you're building a future version of yourself that is strong and reliable, or one that is constantly disappointed. Discipline is not punishment. It's self-respect in action. It's saying, I care enough about my life to do what needs to be done. When you stop negotiating, clarity replaces chaos. You know exactly what needs to happen each day, and you execute without drama. This is where real power is built, in the moments no one sees. Early mornings, quiet nights, repetitive work, boring consistency. Weakness hates routine because routine exposes it. When you remove emotion from execution, weakness has nothing to argue with. You don't WAIT for the right mood. You move on schedule. You don't ask if it's worth it. You already decided it is. Over time, that consistency compounds into confidence, strength, and identity. You no longer try to be disciplined. You are disciplined. So stop negotiating. Stop delaying. Stop asking your weakness for permission. The life you want is on the other side of the decisions you keep avoiding. See, who's disciplined? Choose action. Choose the version of yourself that doesn't flinch when it's hard. And once you do, 2026 will not break you. It will reveal who you truly are. Everything in life sends you a bill. Nothing is free, not success, not comfort, not avoidance, not delay. You are paying right now, whether you realize it or not. The only difference is show and done. Most people weave themselves into believing they're avoiding pain when they procrastinate, when they settle, when they take the easy road. But they're not avoiding pain, they're postponing it. And postponed pain always comes back with interest. The struggle you avoid today shows up later as regret, frustration, and the haunting question of what could have been. Life keeps receipts, and eventually it collects. The cost of discipline feels expensive in the moment. Early mornings, long nights, sacrifice, discomfort, isolation, these things demand effort up front. But the cost of neglect is far greater. Neglect costs you confidence, it costs you momentum, it costs you belief in yourself. When you don't invest in your growth, you slowly lose respect for yourself, and that loss shows up in every area of you. Our life. You start settling for less because deep down, you no longer trust yourself to rise higher. Paying the price now strengthens you. Paying it later weakens you. That's the trade most people don't think through. Here's the truth, success is painful, but regret is permanent. Temporary discomfort builds character. Permanent regret erodes it. When you choose to push through resistance today, you are buying yourself freedom tomorrow. Freedom of choice. Freedom of confidence. Freedom of knowing you didn't waste your potential. But when you avoid the work, you're signing up for a lifetime of second-guessing yourself. You replay missed opportunities. You wonder who you could have been. That mental weight is heavier than any early morning or hard decision you'll ever face. You don't need to do everything at once, but you do need to pay something every day. Small deposits of effort compound just like neglect does. One disciplined choice today makes the next one easier. One avoided responsibility today makes avoidance a habit. Life rewards consistency, not intensity. The people who look lucky are the ones who paid the price quietly when no one was watching. They end. You had boredom, rejection, and fatigue, while others chose comfort. And years later, the difference looks dramatic. But it was built one painful, purposeful choice at a time. Understand this: pain with direction is growth. Pain without direction is suffering. When your sacrifice is tied to a vision, it fuels you instead of draining you. The grind has meaning, the struggle has purpose. But when you avoid effort, the pain you experience later has no upside. It doesn't make you stronger, it just reminds you that you didn't show up when it mattered. That's why so many people feel stuck and unfulfilled. They didn't choose pain intentionally, so life chose it for them randomly. This is the moment where you decide what kind of pain you're willing to live with. The pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The pain of growth or the pain of stagnation. One shapes you into something greater. The other slowly shrinks you. You don't get to avoid pain. You only get to choose which one you'll carry. And the earlier you choose, the lighter the load becomes. The longer you delay, the heavier it gets. So pay the price now. Pay it with effort, with focus, with sacrifice, and with courage. Bika. The cost of becoming who you're meant to be is always cheaper than the cost of staying where you are. Choose growth. Choose discipline. Choose the pain that builds you. And let 2026 be the year you finally invested in your future instead of borrowing from it. You need to understand this. Before anything else, motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. It rises when things are exciting and disappears when things get hard. If motivation were enough, everyone would be successful, healthy, disciplined, and fulfilled. But they're not. Why? Because motivation is internal, temporary, and emotional, while environment is external, constant, and powerful. Your environment shapes your behavior far more than your intentions ever will. You can want success with all your heart, but if you stay in places that normalize laziness, distraction, and excuses, your desire will eventually lose. Environment is the invisible hand guiding your decisions when you're tired, stressed, or unfocused. And most people never change their lives because they never change what surrounds them. Take a hard look at what you're exposed to every day. The conversations you hear, the people you spend time with, the content you consume, the habits that feel normal in your space. None of that is neutral. It's either pulling you forward or dragging you backward. If your environment celebrates comfort, mocks ambition, and avoids accountability, you will absorb that mindset no matter how strong you think you are. Willpower is finite. Environment is constant. That's why disciplined people don't rely on willpower. EY design their surroundings to support the life they're trying to build. They make the right choice easier and the wrong choice harder. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Here's the uncomfortable truth: some of the people around you are costing you your future. Not because they're bad people, but because they're not aligned with where you're trying to go. If your goals threaten their comfort, E will subtly discourage you. If your growth exposes their stagnation, they will minimize your ambition. Not always with words, sometimes with jokes, silence, or doubt. And if you're not careful, you'll shrink yourself to stay connected. You'll lower your standards to avoid standing out. That's how dreams die quietly. Growth requires separation, not arrogance, not resentment, just distance. You can love people without living like them. Your environment is also your daily structure. Your room, your phone, your schedule, your routines. Chaos breeds inconsistency. Clarity breeds discipline. When your space is cluttered, your mind follows. When your day has no structure, distractions take over. High performers don't leave their days open to chance. They plan, they organize, they remove fricti. They create systems that carry them forward when motivation fades. That's how consistency is built, not through hype, but through design. If you keep relying on motivation to save you, you will keep starting over. If you rely on environment, you will keep moving forward. Understand this clearly. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You sink to the level of your environment. If you're constantly surrounded by noise, drama, negativity, and low standards, it will wear you down, slowly, quietly, until one day you wonder where your drive went. But when you place yourself in environments that demand more from you, where discipline is normal, growth is expected, and effort is respected, you rise naturally. You don't have to force it. You adapt upward. That's how humans are wired. The question is not whether environment influences you. The question is whether you're brave enough to choose one that challenges you. Changing your environment might mean changing your routines. It might mean changing who has access to you. It might mean spending more time alone while you rebuild. It might mean being misunderstood for a season. That's the price of growth. Comfort says stay. Potential essay. Move. And the people who win in life are the ones who listen to potential, even when it's uncomfortable. They protect their energy. They guard their focus. They are intentional about where they place themselves physically, mentally, and emotionally. Because they understand that environment doesn't just influence outcomes, it shapes identity. So stop waiting for motivation to save you. Build an environment that forces you to rise. Choose spaces, people, and systems that pull greatness out of you instead of draining it. Because when your environment is right, discipline becomes easier, focus becomes natural, and growth becomes inevitable. Change what surrounds you, and 2026 will change who you become. Most people quit because they mistake silence for failure. They expect progress to announce itself loudly, to show up with applause, recognition, and immediate results. But real growth doesn't work like that. In the beginning, everything is quiet, no one is watching, no one is clapping, no one is validating your effort. And that silence becomes the test. It asks you one brutal question every day: will you still show up when there's nothing in it for you right now? The ones who win answer yes. Not once, not twice, every day. Consistency in obscurity is the price of becoming extraordinary. Showing up when it's quiet requires a different kind of strength. It's easy to work hard when people are cheering. It's easy to stay committed when results are obvious. But when progress is invisible, when improvement is internal, when the only proof of growth is discipline itself, that's where most people disappear. They mistake the lack of external feedback for a lack of progress. But what's really happening is foundation building. Strength is forming beneath the surface. Skills are sharpening. Identity is changing. Just because you can't see it yet doesn't mean it's not working. The most important work is often the least visible. Here's the truth you need to accept. Success is repetitive, not dramatic. It's doing the same right things over and over again long after the excitement fades. It's waking up and executing on days that feel ordinary, boring, and unremarkable. People want transformation without repetition. But repetition is the transformation. The habits you practice in silence become the results people admire later. And when those results finally show up, everyone will call it overnight success, never realizing how many quiet mornings and lonely nights it took to build it. When you commit to showing up daily, you develop something more valuable than motivation. You develop identity. You stop trying to prove yourself. You stop needing validation. You move with calm confidence because you know who you are, and what you do. You become reliable to yourself. That self-reliability changes how you carry yourself in the world. You trust your word. You trust your process. And even when progress feels slow, you don't panic, you don't quit. You understand that consistency compounds, and that compounding rewards patience, not urgency. Silence also teaches humility. It strips away ego and leaves you with work. No shortcuts, no hype, just effort. And in that space, you either develop discipline or you develop excuses. The people who rise are the ones who learn to love the process more than the praise. They find pride in execution, not recognition. They measure success by effort given, not attention received. And because of that, they last. They don't burn out chasing external validation. They endure because their fuel comes from commitment, not applause. This is where your life changes. When you stop waiting for noise and start respecting quiet progress. When you understand that showing up daily is not glamorous, but it is powerful. When you commit to the work even when the world isn't watching. That's when momentum builds. That's when growth accelerates. That's when discipline turns into destiny. E-silence won't last forever, but the strength you build in it will. So show up every day. Show up when it's quiet. Show up when it's boring. Show up when no one notices. Because the life you want is being built in those unseen moments. And if you stay committed long enough, the silence will break. And when it does, it will be undeniable.